I'm either gonna shut up or I'm gonna buy the boots. These boots.
So we're going to get some warm-ups here. I'm looking at probably 3 or 4 solid warm-ups here on the angle leg press. And I'm going to go over to the leg extension and get some warm-ups there as well, because I'm going to end up starting my quad session, at least my work sets, with extensions. Again, in the pre-exhaust fashion that we were doing chest and shoulders as well. So we're going to hit 3 or 4 here. We're going to move through them nice and deliberate as far as the repetitions. Get over to the leg extension, do the same thing, work ourselves up in weight, and when we're at our top weight, got a good pump, knees are warm, quads are warm, then it'll be time to hit it. While I'm still getting these warm-up sets, it'd probably be a good idea to touch on my shoes. If you haven't noticed, I have shocks on, which most people would not consider to be appropriate leg training gear because of the lack of the stiffness in the heel. They give quite a bit. When it comes to footwear for training legs, I am exactly the opposite of what most people need. And that is, I need something that actually gives. I trained in shocks for the last couple years, and they have worked incredibly well as far as my knees and my lower back are concerned. And I'll get into my lower back issues a little bit later in another chapter when we talk about my lower back issues with my chiropractor, and he breaks down exactly what the situation is or was. But for me, that give in the heel works real well. I've actually since changed to some Nike Rejuvenates, which is essentially the same thing as far as the shocks, or the same thing as the shocks in the sense that they're very soft. They have quite a bit of give, as opposed to, you know, most people would like to use boots, powerlifting boots, or something with a very solid heel. Jimmy likes to do his sets in 5s. If you have not noticed, you'll pick this up on his leg sets. Everything is done in groups of 5. Alright, getting warm here on the leg extensions, making sure the knees are ready to go. Say after 27 years of squatting, even when you squat and press the right way, you're still going to be dealing with knee issues. Basically, repetition is degenerative, so even though you're doing your repetitions right and with good form, you do thousands and thousands of them, and eventually your joints begin to pay the price. I'm not going to do my extensions to where I hold the squeeze at the top. I'm going to get a good squeeze, but again, it's along the lines of the machine flies that I do for chest. It's kind of a stretch and squeeze, and in my brain, I'm kind of posing with the weight. I'm not too concerned about moving a lot of weight with this exercise. I'm just looking to put a torch to my quads, fatigue them, essentially exhaust or pre-exhaust, tire them out before I get back over to the angle leg presses and go with the bigger poundages, wrapping my knees. Now as I get ready to wrap for this set, can't tell the tension that I have there, but I'm wrapping the first wrap, maybe the second one kind of tight, and then I'm going a little loose around the knee, and then on the last and final wrap, I'm going to hit it kind of tight so that I'm tight on the bottom above the knee, and I'm tight or tighter below the knee, but that the knee itself isn't wrapped incredibly tight, because when I am doing my repetitions, and the angle leg press is maybe the exception in the sense that I'm not as deep on the angle leg press as I am on, let's say, hacks, regular squats, Smith squats, things like that. Nonetheless, I can't get deep if I have a tight wrap from top to bottom without it really hurting the knees. And quite frankly, I think that when the wrap is tight top to bottom and you're doing deep reps, you're actually putting your knee in a vulnerable position because you have that wrap leveraging against your knee. It's gathering behind your knee and it's leveraging the front of your knee, and it just isn't a very safe position to put your knee in. Another point I need to make as far as my wraps are concerned, I don't have unstable knees. I don't wrap because I have, how should I explain it? I don't wrap because I feel that my knees are loose or that they're, that I need the stability as much as the wrapping for me takes away. It helps to warm them up. It helps to, obviously I'm getting extra support, but it also just helps the knee to get warm, to handle a little bit more weight without the pain and the achiness that I have without the wraps. And to prove my point, this is the only exercise that I wrap for. I do my isolation work first on the extensions, and then my first compound exercise, which today happens to be the leg press. It could be hacks, it could be squats. Today it's leg press. I'll wrap, but when I go to my next compound exercise, my knees are nice and warm, they're nice and loose, so it may be hacks or another press, and I won't wrap for those. those. I won't need to because there won't be any pain and my knees won't ache at that point. That little move there is so I don't choke on my gum. On occasion, if I feel that my gum is floating around in my mouth, it won't stay tucked away. I have a habit of tucking my gum up between my upper lip and my upper gum, and it usually stays there through sets of squats, legs, back, that sort of thing. And for some reason I feel like it's floating around and I'm going to end up potentially choking on it, and then I'm going to stick it on my hat.
Get it. One.
My beard, dude. Look at that. I still got a white line. I got a white. If I run like that, that's right. I laugh my ass off.
I don't feel it until it's time to warm up for legs or get up off the floor after watching TV with the kids.
Try getting home from a 15-hour plane ride.
Oh, I'll bet.
And then time to come train.
Yeah. I don't know how you eat train on the road. It's just got to be a bit.
That's where the genetics come.
Oh, I would imagine. And you just got to be so resourceful. It's just,
That's where genetics, I don't care. You can't, whatever you're taking, it's all genetics. Because I've seen guys like actually like McDonald's and shit still be still. Yeah, everybody. Yeah, last time we had, it was like syrup, extra basket, boy sandwiches.
Who the hell was that guy? Probably trying to get some free training advice or something. I don't know. He was kind of big, but I forget his name. He's won a couple shows here in Colorado. I don't know what is. I forget his name. All right, we're moving on to hacks here. Notice I'm not wrapping. Of course, I'm warming up, so I wouldn't be wrapped anyway. But I'm gonna drop in as far as I can here. My knees are warm now, not only after the leg extensions, but after the wrapped leg presses. So I'm good to go here. We're gonna still work a couple warm-ups just to make sure that my brain knows that the hacks are coming, that the angle has changed, and we'll hit it. The secret workout water. I can't tell you what's in it. It's patent pending. Through True Protein, of course, but it's patent pending. It's a secret. Ancient Chinese secret. Alright, no it's not. It's essentially augment and BCAA powder. And just to make sure it still tastes good, I throw in a couple Crystal Lights. My clients will know because that's a formula that I go with quite a few of them too. BCAA powder to me, incredibly important in your workout water. Augment, of course, a good combination of a creatine blend, a little beta alanine. What else you got in there? A little bit of AKG, a little NO, a little extra pump, that sort of thing. Get into the hacks here. I gotta admit that of any leg exercise that I've done over the years that I have to give credit as far as my quad development, it isn't squats, maybe a little leg press, but by and large the hacks have served me very well. Allows me to go high on the intensity because, of course, if I fail, I can be pulled out by my training partner with a little easier than if I'm squatting, or even Smith squatting for that matter. I feel confident inside the hack machine, taking it a little further than I would otherwise. And on a good hack squat, and this one here is good, there isn't any equipment at Armbrust that isn't. I think Dylan hand-picked everything, quite frankly, because I think if I went through that gym and tried to pick out the best piece of equipment for each piece of equipment he has in there, if I tried to pick it out myself, I don't think I could pick it out any better. Some of the equipment is older, but the truth is some of that old equipment is just the best equipment around. This hack squat here allows you to drop in nice and deep without bottoming the machine out, which is crucial in my opinion. Trained at a different gym on and off, doing legs. Here on the west side of Denver, and to switch to another hack squat and then end up bottoming it out, you don't get the stretch that you're used to. It's quite a different feeling. This is a new piece of equipment that Dylan just picked up a couple months before we were using it here. Quite an old school piece. You don't find too many vertical leg presses around these days. I remember when I first started at the YMCA in Battle Creek, Michigan. They had an old school one. They used to be bolted to the wall. A lot of them would be bolted to a concrete wall, and you'd have to load them from the top. Limited range of motion, because your knees are in your chest after only a few inches, but quite a good angle. A lot of hamstring, a lot of glute, and just hits your quads on the outside a little bit harder, or a little bit different. I won't even say hard, a little different than any other press does. It's not a bad piece of equipment for calf presses, toe raises as far as calf development as well. It's the type of exercise right here that I like to finish my quad session with. Once my quads are fried, I may come in at the end and either do this exercise to bring in a little bit more ham and glute, to not only work the ham and glutes and get development as far as that's concerned, but to push my quads just a little bit further, maybe still keeping the poundages and the intensity up. If I were to go to, angle leg press or even a squat at that point, I'm not going to be getting a whole lot of reps. I'm not going to be moving much weight. So this is a good finishing exercise right here that brings into play, like I said, almost equally between the quads, hams, and glutes.
That's it. I got nothing left.
Condition here, keep in mind that I'm about 14, maybe 13 weeks out at this point, so relatively lean coming into the prep, but I'm usually relatively lean coming into my preps anyway, so I can take it nice and slow and push my conditioning to the point that I'm known for. And over the course of 13 to 14 weeks, that allows me to drop probably 215, 213 in these shots here. And of course I step on stage usually right at the cutoff at one side and the other. I don't like to alternate, quite frankly. So today we're going with the lying leg curl, and again this one's along the lines, at least again in my brain and my thinking, I'm doing this exercise along the lines of kind of a leg extension. Again, it's a stretch and squeeze. I'm not trying to see how much weight I can move. Obviously, I want to use as much weight as I can, but that isn't the primary focus. I need a full stretch, I need a full squeeze, and I'm essentially just finishing off my hamstrings with this movement. For the leg presses, of course, my hamstrings were involved quite a bit. The hacks, not so much, but still in there a little bit because my hacks are so deep. So they got to help pull me out of the hole, when I'm coming out of the hole on the hacks. Then, of course, finishing up with the vertical leg press. A lot of hamstring there, a lot of glute. So this is just kind of a finishing move. I'm going to make sure that they're toasted. I'm going to get a good stretch and squeeze. And we're going to hit this again for 3 working sets. That should finish off my hamstring workout for today. And we'll get into a little bit of abs here in just a second. We're going to move into some ab work here. One of my favorite exercises here, kind of a reverse crunch or machine crunch, whatever you want to call it. Hits the abs real good, gives me a weight stack so I can really push the amount of weight. I need to thicken up my abs a little bit anyway. So to have a weight stack and to do exercises where there's additional weight is a big bonus for me. And as we finish up this last ab set right here, it's going to conclude the leg session, finish up quads, hams, and abs.